All right, ladies and germs, cats and clowns, here we go again. Some of you seen the last video for this DAC. We started a policy a few of these radios back on these custom ones that, we need to put new radios in them when we build them, okay? At the time this particular one was commissioned with this 3500Z tube, he's kind of a friend of ours, and, we grossly underpriced the radio. So myself was to try and save a little bit of cost in building by, using a 148. We tried 3 of them in there. 3, 10, 15, 20-year-old radios with 10, 15, 20-year-old problems. And ended up where if I'd have just bought this 86V and put it in here to start with, this gentleman would have this radio home by now. So this is what we did. We got an 86V chassis. We stripped the 148 out. It's gone. On the 86V chassis, we added, when we're done, when this goes up, it'll be plus 10 kZ. When it goes down, it'll be Roger beep. In the middle, it'll be normal. I just haven't hooked those wires up yet. However, under his mic gain right here, if you watch his counter, let's go down to channel 1. And his lowest channel, 2651. Now let's go back it up to 40 and go to his highest bank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 banks later. Takes him all the way up to 2920. CV band is bank number 2. Now, the other problem we had with the 148s being as old as they were being drifty. We put him a 10-turn clarifier in here. It don't drift. Now, the way I've got it set up right now, we're going to see if he likes it. The clarifier is almost full CCW, almost all the way up. But this is why. Watch when we turn it down. Now, you gotta remember, he's also going to have a plus 10 here, so he can go in between anything and back up or go forward with his clarifier. But the cool thing is 27180. Now we can drop to the half channels. Okay? 10-turn clarifier, bring it right back up to 5. Bam. It'll go all the way up to 7, which is comfortable for sideband if you got to go up a little bit. If you got to go up past 7 on sideband, whoever you're talking to, they got a problem with their radio. Okay? All the meters. Now, the other thing I like about using this 86V chassis, it has a modulation meter output. It has the signal and output power one, which we haven't hooked the output power one up yet. It's going to go to this meter. We put all new. These are LEDs, but they're from an ambient line. They're supposed to look old school, which is what he wanted. But at the end of the day, the 148 didn't happen, and I'm kind of glad it didn't because this is way better. I don't have to add another bridge for the meters. It just made this radio a hell of a lot nicer. Now, for you guys that like to play with these, I'm going to warn you. The 5-digit counter that comes in this 86, okay? This is the entire, here's your display, okay? This is the entire frequency counter. That's to start with. So if your eyes ain't this good, you best leave this one alone, okay? Second thing is, it is not wired like every other, 347 or the other little sticks you find in a 47 or a 27, 25, 27. It's not like any of those. This whole counter plugs into a switch assembly board, which is basically your control board for the 86V. Now, in the 86V, if you just take it out of the box and convert it, you're going to get 40 channels down, 40 channels up, and not have to drill a hole in it nowhere. It's already set up to do that. But it also has the band board. This radio comes with a band board. You can put up to 8 banks of channels in this thing if you know how to manipulate this board. Now, I've done this, and none of these wires have had to be soldered, did nothing. Okay, this whole kit, this whole 8-bank kit I made just plugs in. Okay, no soldering required. Now, let's get to the meters. Cool shit. Right now, the signal meters work. And yes, right now here in Chicago, we are holding a steady 4 to 7 pounds of static with the DX today. Now, we're driving. It's not on right now, but we have our little dock box on here. It's 2 572Bs driving. 2 572Bs. That's a whole other story. We'll tell you about it later. But, however, the other cool thing about the 86V is self-calibrating SWR meter. Okay? You never have to calibrate this meter. Now, on my antenna, That's what it does. With no amp on, it tells me that my 1/8 of a watt carrier is like just under 2. But when you load it up, because it's swinging so hard, it's really a false reading. See how it drops? Okay. The SWRs are fine. But now here, when I turn this amp on, and right now let's look at regular power. This is his variable power control. He has variable dead key. So let's go to the 100 watt scale. Turn the peak off. All of these controls are in their original placement. RF gain is RF gain, squelch plate, all are in their original placement. Now when we're done, there's going to be 2 vanity plates made. One's going to go from here down. The other one's going to go from here down, and it's going to be done in this brushed nickel finish. However, this window will be cut out of the nickel plate that goes on there. If you've seen my turbo with the black wood grain plate for all the goodies we put in it, that's what we're going to make for this. We're going to use the Mylar panels. We're going to cover them with the right material, and then we're going to take our label maker, which has this exact font and this exact size. So I'm going to relabel everything. And basically, I'm just relabeling. Usually when I have to relabel one, we're relabeling it because we've moved all the controls. This one, all the controls are where they started. However, some of them are worn off, and we are deleting some. When we're done, this will be his RF power, okay, like it is. And like I said, when he flips this up, it'll go plus 10 kZ. In the middle, it'll be normal radio. But when he flips it down, it'll be normal radio with Roger beep. Now, this switch over here. At the end of the day, this amplifier is going to have, there's a socket and a choke. We've already had it together once. And the radios blew up. A 3-500Z final. We're going to use a graphite tube. Pentalabs Graphite Z. Now what's going to happen is we have a single pill to drive it that we're going to build inside and run it off the 30 amp power supply to run the radio. Here is our driver module, which Tech 9, Mr. Professor over near Harvey, he gave me a little bit of a hand on this and some tips, and we thank him very, very, very much. Nice little board. We've already ran it. It makes, I've had it in here once already. It makes 60, just under 70 watts of RMS, and PEP's just under 150. And that's at 14.5 volts for a single 2879. It's pretty impressive. This board is going to drive one of these tubes. Okay. This is a 500 watt RMS graphite 3500 tube. Okay. We use graphites in all our Z's. I don't like stars. I don't like the paper center. They cherry too quick. And once the fiber starts to break down, the tube is gone. And it doesn't matter how well you treated it. Rarely will you grab a graphite and see debris inside the tube. If you do, it's junk. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. Now, some of the star Z's with the paper cone inside, when they start coming apart, they still work. They'll work until they don't. But we prefer graphite here. That's all we use. We are a Pentalabs tube dealer, and that's what will be going in this radio. So back to our carrier real quick. So now, all the way down, we're on the 100 watt scale, RMS, nice 2 watt dead key. Now watch what happens when we ramp it up. Doo-doo, nice and smooth, all the way up to 9 watts. Now, we're going to turn the carrier all the way back down, 2 watts, mic gain at 12 o'clock. Okay, mic gain's at 12. We'll come over here, we're going to turn our peak on. So now, PEP, audio. 45 watts of PEP from a 2 watt dead key. Now, the last couple of chassis we had in here, when we got to this point, that's when all kinds of hell broke loose. When we started putting them on power. This one, we tested on power already. So we know it's not going to have a problem. Like I said, we're running it into my little dock box here. Now, when I hit this box with my turbo, with the board off, I'll get about 900 watts of peak out of it. Pretty decent. With this thing hitting it, though, we get, I think it's roughly 400 or 500 watts. So we're just going to go to the 500 watt scale. Okay. RF power is still all the way down. Now, it's the 500 watt scale, which means you're reading, I got to move the pick. 500 watt scale is the 50. It's the middle one. So where you see 40, that's 400. 30 is 300. Let me turn the amp on. Take it off standby. Turned all the way down, I'm smacking 300 watts from, this is what's going to be impressive, with the amp on. 10, 20, 30, 40 watt dead key, swinging 3.5, 4. So we get no squeals. Our counter, like I said, we ended up putting the original counter from the 86V in here because originally we were going to put a FC347 in. We had it in here. We had it mounted. It was reading AM. But when we went to go to the sideband offsets, we found out I couldn't get the damn thing set. Apparently, on this counter, the offset is different. Also, on this counter, you have to hook up the transmit and receive pulses, the positive 8-volt pulses, not the negative from the mic jack. I blew up 2 of these sticks trying to figure that out. So I eventually just ended up, because when you remove this stick from the board that it's plugged into in the 86V, that's when your problems begin, because that board's already, that this plugs into, is already set up to run this module. I had to make an interface to go between this and down here because we're no longer using this in the 86V face. Now the counter is actually a standalone counter. So we had to make an adapter circuit and get it all going, but we got it. So there it is. Instead of a 148, we now have an 86V chassis in here. Ambient LED lights that are never going to go out. All our digits are brand new. Counter's brand new. When we go from mode to mode, there's AM. When we go to upper sideband, stays on 5.0. Go to low sideband, stays on 5.0. Okay? When you key, stays on 5. Perfectly aligned. Next thing that happens is we're going to do the Roger beep, 10kz, get that out of the way. Then once all that's done, we're going to tie up these wires. We're going to stab the single pill board in. That's going to be next. Once that's in, this is the way this switch is going to work. Now, this is going to have 2 tuners in it. Here, probably here. We are going to put a pi network on this tube. Okay, but next to all that right here is going to be your power level control. In the middle will be straight radio like it's sitting just now. If he flips it down and just wants a little more giddy up, down will only turn the pill board on. But once he flips it up here, it's going to go full tilt boogie. The board's going to drive the 3500Z. I'm expecting 650, 700 watts a peak. If it does better than that, we will be bringing it down, dropping the high voltage a little bit. Now, the other thing we're going to do is there's going to be another vanity panel here, okay, to make all this look right. However, we are going to leave this window cut out, okay, and you're going to be able to look through here because the tube's going to sit right behind here, right behind this area, behind the tuners. You can see the socket in there if you look real hard. Now, these tubes, every now and then, will cherry up. You need to be able to see them. So we're going to make this just basically a view window. So he can take a look at his graphite core every now and then and make sure he's down. I got cherries rolling up the side of it. So there it is. The Attack DAC is almost, and it's now ready to fucking go to the next step. Finally. 14 months of freaking building, blowing up, rebuilding, trying this, trying that. What we've learned is that this radio, when you do something this big, number one, honestly, you're showing off. There's no reason to have a DAC 10 with a 3500Z tube in it. But, some guys want what they want. I don't blame you. And these DACs, when you guys have bought them used, out of the box, they were junk. Best thing you can do with one of these chassis is gut it and put some real shit in there. And sometimes it takes some time. Like this one really took some time. But at the end of the day, this man is getting a truly brand new radio end to end. Instead of having a used chassis, driving a new board, driving a new tube. All that's out the window. So there are 2 things that are going to be crucial to making all this work together. And a lot of guys get freaked out when I start talking like this, but it's gonna have to be done. On top of every tube amp you look onto, you see a resistor with that coil around it. That's called a parasitic choke, okay? And what it's designed to do is the resistor acts like a sponge. Any current that is not being directly applied to that coil going around it gets absorbed in the resistor. That's why they're on top. If you don't have those things on top of the tubes, your whole amp will break in oscillation. It won't even unkey. So what we're going to do is out of the radio into the first board, it's going to be parasitic choked. On the output of that board going to the tube, going to be another parasitic choke for the input. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lift all the cathodes. We're going to just lift them up, and we're going to take them to ground through a parasitic choke. Now, anything in here that's stray, that's not being directly driven into any one of these amplification sections, will just be absorbed in the chokes. It's gonna help our impedance problems if we have it. It's gonna help any harmonic feedback, all that. Keeping the lengths as short as we can, and parasitic choking the dog cheese out of this tube. Now, a lot of guys say, well, what are you putting that choke on a pill box for? Well, because the pill box is going to be driving a tube. Tubes inherently make more parasitic oscillation than transistors. So, the pill amplifier works just the same. However, when they go to having problems in radios, when we do all our conversions, if it starts acting up, that's the first thing we do is start parasitic choking everything. And 9 times out of 10, it solves the problem. We're not even going to take the chance on this one. We're parasitic choke the dog cheese out of everything and be done with it. Then when we're done, every section of this radio is going to be encapsulated and bomb blanketed. Now, I call them bomb blankets. We have these plastic sheets they're just big square sheets. Probably good for about 4,000 dielectric volts, okay? What we do is we cut one to fit the area, then we line it all the way across, but we leave a 1/4 inch around the outside, okay? So that there's a 1/4 inch of nothing that can arc off. Now, that piece of aluminum gets sandwiched between 2 of those fitted panels. And then around the edge of it, it gets wrapped with a non-inductive type tape, black duct tape, gorilla tape, whatever. Now you have a metal shield over that section. We are going to encapsulate this section. We're going to put the lids back on this side of the radio, and then there's going to be metal tape everywhere. You don't hardly see any of the circuitry, but what's going to suck is because that Z is sitting right here, right behind this front panel, where all this control is being done. They're going to pick up some harmonics. So we are going to have to make a bomb blanket to go in between here and here, the whole length of the front of the radio, to keep that RF out of our controls. And then on top, where the tube's actually going to go, we've got our high voltage caps in, we got our 5 volt, 40 amp power supply for our filament, our tube sockets in, our high voltage choke is in. They say it's already been put together once. I didn't like it. This radio's come apart so many times, it's ridiculous. My wife's ready to kill me and whoever thought of a DAC. So, once we get the tube in there, though, this will be encapsulated, this whole section. The only thing that will be open will be the window, the view window to the graphite core of the tube. The high voltage transformer is going to sit here. Everything. This is going to be a self-contained unit, not a two-piece. Originally, when this idea came up, it was going to be a 250B. It was going to have to be a two-piece. But since then, like I said, 14 months later, things have changed. We are now a Pentalabs tube dealer. We push 572Bs, 811As if you like them, and 3500 ZGs. The 3500 ZG is my favorite. It requires the least amount of power supply, and you get the most amount of goodie out of it. The only problem is, and it's really not even a problem, you got to drive the dog cheese out of them. Now, the way we bias them, now, and you got to remember, the data sheet says 2200 volts on a 3500Z. I know I'm going to get some emails for this one, and I don't care. We run these tubes at 2950 volts. Okay, just like SB220 does on high, or what they call sideband. Okay. And if this thing breaks 600-700 watts, if it goes farther than that, I will swamp his freaking high voltage and bring it down. Because I don't want this thing hitting its limits. I want this thing to cruise because it's going to be making heat. It's going to be making oscillations. It's going to be doing everything it can to upset the user. And we are going to roadblock all that shit before he gets it. This, to my knowledge, is probably the most technically advanced, most powerful, with the most thought that I think could ever be put. This is probably, I would lay money when I'm done, this is going to be the baddest DAC on the face of the planet. So if you think you got a standalone DAC that's got to whoop this one with a 3500Z in it standalone, we got to talk. I want to see your stuff. So there it is. I can't mention the owner's name. He won't allow me to do it. All I'm going to say is the man has taste. And he knew where to go. He knows what he's getting. He's dying to get it. I'd be dying to get it after a year, 14 months too. But like I've told you guys before, there is no plans for what you're asking me to do. We know where the plans come is right at the seat of my pants. You say, I want this. I'm going to tell everybody now the spiel I give people when they call me on the phone about building the deck. If you want to build a deck, I'm going to let everybody know right now, there will be no more used chassis for the radio part. I do not have time to repair 10, 15, 20-year-old problems when I'm building you something that's supposed to be brand new. I can't warranty it as a brand new unit because you give me a 20-year-old radio to put inside the rest of everything that's new. It's like putting a spare tire on a vet. What's the point? So I tell these guys, look, if you're not going to restore the deck, you're going to do what we do to it. You honestly need to sit down with yourself, have a beer, roll a joint, whatever you do, sit there and think about what do you want in this box. Make it the last base station you're ever going to buy. Guys, these things start with a straight AM chassis. If you supply me with the case, say you send me a DAC 9 and say gut it, make it straight AM with, say, a pair of 6LQ6 finals, guys, that's $899, and you're supplying me the box. And it's done when? Guess what? I say it's done. Because I'm not sending any of these things out of here with bugs, and you guys get pissed off because little things don't work here or there. And this gentleman's been so patient. I've also known him for 30 years off and on. So he knows me. And he knows that when it takes this long for me to do something, and any of you guys that watch my channel know, when it takes this long for me to get something in one piece, it's usually the shit when it's done. I wish I could keep this one already, and I ain't even done with it yet. So the owner, I'm sure, is going to watch this video. There it is, dude. Radio's done. Fucking finally for good this time, too. We've driven Doc with it. Look, if you could drive that box with no problems, we're healthy. So now it's time to 409itize and Frankenstein that power in there that everybody wants their base station to do, but nobody wants to pay for. This guy, he's paying for it. To an extent. We gave him a good deal. We commissioned this radio back before I realized how much it was going to cost us to actually build these monsters. And once again, I'm like the shoe repairman with holes in his shoes. I got a deck outside I want to build for myself. I got 3 more to build before I can touch that. So, and don't be afraid, guys. Call me. If you want them built, just keep in mind, it's going to take time, and depending on how badly you want to build, this radio, when it's done, is $24.99. This is a $2,500 base station. 8 banks of 40 channels, landing in between, plus 10 kz, Roger beep, sidebands, counter, meters, power, 3500Z tube. Look, you can't come off with $24.99 for this radio. You don't deserve it. Period. There is nothing but thought, love, and ambition in this box. And this guy's going to tear all you guys' heads off with just the radio. Then he's going to go on and turn on his good shit. So I'm just glad I'm nowhere near him because this thing's going to be a monster. It's already a monster. I got guys around here going, what the hell are you talking about? So there it is. Its final heartbeat ended up being a Galaxy 86V. We used its board. And once again, guys, you go playing around with these counters, be careful. You will blow them in a heartbeat. Okay? We're going to start master classes before long. And everything I just told you about that counter, we ain't going to be giving all those tricks away in the regular videos. When you want to see all the stuff that makes what I do that seems impossible when I'm talking about it, when it comes to life, that takes time. Takes a lot of time. And you know what? A lot of money. This was $2,500. This is probably the nicest one we've ever built. It is the nicest one we've ever built. Till I build mine. I got a crazy idea for mine. I can't have somebody with a deck bigger than what I want. So that little project, and I don't mind telling y'all I'm building that one, but when that one's in play, that one's really going to blow your mind. But right now we have, I call it the attack deck because this is just going to be a bad mother humper. Everything works on the radio chassis now. I can turn sideways. And that's another thing, guys. If you're going to try to start building these radios, and whether you like it or not, a lot of you are going to end up starting to try because you ain't going to be able to get nothing that you want to talk on online no more. All these guys that are just selling radios and peeking and tuning them and aren't doing stuff like taking this, which is the kind of chassis that guys like us want, okay? Now we're not going to be able to get them no more. It's the guys that can take that and a few more pieces, put it in something like that, and send you out the door with some old school shit that you like. If you're the guy that can do that, once China's done putting it in our behind, it's guys like us that everybody's going to want to talk to because we're going to be the ones keeping everybody on the air. So, you know, some of these older radios, guys, I'm telling everybody, don't get rid of them. I mean, if you're truly a radio person, you talk on your radios, You like owning your radios, but in the back of your mind, you've always had that thought, well, the new line's coming out next week or next year or next whatever. Guess what, guys? I got a feeling Galaxy is about all but done. And the ones you are going to be able to get your hands on are so freaking expensive, I'm not sure they're worth it. Problem, they're using MOSFET amplifiers. I'm going to give you my spiel on MOSFETs. A MOSFET is a great driver inside a radio, but it has no business being a final output. They do not generate enough RMS power. Now, I'll tell you how we figured this out. We used to, when we first started building our Super Duty 2000s, the 100-watt PEP 2000s, we were using the RM Italy 4 MOSFET Stinger board with some modifications. That's how we started our Super Duty line. When COVID hit, we couldn't get any more of those. So we started learning how to build pill boxes. I hate pills. I hate transistors. Everybody knows me knows it. Two things I can't stand: open frame relays, connections that just screw on, three things, and all of broken connections are the worst. Screwing stuff on, screwing it off. Anything that plug in and unplug can cause oxidation, this and that. I guess the bottom line is, I think there's going to be a lot more people doing this in the future than just me and a few guys that I know. The only problem is you guys that are seriously going to try it, you're way far behind the curve already. Because if you don't know how to take this brand spanking new chassis, now here's another thing. There's no schematic for the 86. If you go to any reputable website that you got to pay for, that supplies guys like me with this information, I got 3 of them. All 3 of them say the same thing. I'll click on the 86V to look at its schematic, and then it pops up and it says, refer to DX2517 and improvise. What? So now you're telling me there's no exact schematic for this radio, and there's not. And in the interim, we blew up a audio chip, a final, and power regulator, building it for the 4th time with this radio. Well, now we've got how to put this radio in, this chassis in this radio now, and China says, oh, no, you can't have no more. So, pretty soon we're going to be buying up all the used 86Vs we can get, 99V, 2s, all that shit. We're going to start picking them up when we can, because the guys that want these radios like this, you ain't going to get it with a President Lincoln, and you sure ain't going to get it with no fancy-looking Striker. Nobody better come near this guy with a Striker. He going to put the ass in his briefcase, period. This is a 409 custom, get it on, knock your teeth out, guaranteed to be the baddest thing on the block. So guys, keep an eye on it. I'm damn proud of it now. I am. I thought, in the beginning, I thought it was a bad idea. I think it's a vulgar display of electronic ability, but I'm a vulgar person, and the guy that owns it, he knows how I get when I get how I get it. So there it is. It's coming together. The Attack Dak. It's alive. I can talk on it now. AM, sidebands, counter, bands, variable power, slider, whole 9 yards. It's all in there. Now it's time to make it sound like a 409 radio. We get that 2879 in there. We get that 3-500Z in there. And then the world's going to change. Again. Because 409 got a soldering iron. You guys take care of yourselves, all right? Be safe. 7-3s, nothing but love. To all 409 family members, we appreciate all you guys. We really do. Have a great, what is this? I don't even know what day it is. Have a great day. 7-3s. Keep your damn hands clean. Stay sick. Don't get sick. There you go. Stay safe.